Not
No,
that
Your
I'm-
Honor. But I do have argument on the contempt issue, Your Honor.
Okay. Go ahead.
Your Honor, we would object to the court hearing that today because the petitioners failed to comply with KSA 20-1204A and the procedure set forth therein. We think the court lacks jurisdiction to take up that issue today.
And the procedure they failed to follow is what?
Your Honor, that statute states that the affidavit of the complaining party has to be served. I'm just pulling up the statute here. I'm sorry, Your Honor. The order to appear and show cause should be served on the party allegedly in contempt by the sheriff. That was not followed. I don't know how specifically the court follows the language of the statute, but it also provides that there should be a motion requesting an order to appear and show cause accompanied by an affidavit specifically setting forth the facts. I think those are merged into one as far as Mr. Hoffman's motion is concerned. But the procedure is pretty specific for service of those things on the person allegedly in contempt, and that has not occurred.
Mr. Hoffman.
Your Honor, the affidavit was not filed. But we would like to bring up some of the issues that they've had prior to this hearing today.
Hoffman, it appears to me that the motion and the affidavit were combined into one document.
That's correct, but it was.
The question is, did you have that served?
No, Your Honor, it was not served.
Okay. So we'll continue that matter. Unless you want to waive service, Ms. Park.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. That leaves us with the motion to vacate or modify temporary orders.
Correct.
Any opening statements, Ms. Park?
Just briefly, Your Honor, as the court is aware from reading my motion, the argument is that the temporary orders that were entered should be vacated. These were orders granted by the magistrate, and the motion that was the orders that were entered failed to comply with local court rule 210 as well as Supreme Court rule 139 because there was no child support worksheet included. The findings of the court were insufficient in that to the extent that there was a child support order made, it did not have any findings related to direct payment of that child support. As the court is aware, the statute requires payment through a central payment center, or the central payment unit, I believe is what the statute calls it. And that if that is not going to occur, there have to be specific findings of an agreement between the parties for direct payment. And there was none of that. There was also not a temporary parenting plan included in that initial filing by the petitioner. And I see that Mr. Hoffman has sent me a parenting plan this morning by email. But we would ask the court to vacate its previous temporary order. We're prepared today to present testimony on the temporary orders that we believe should be entered. And we would ask the court to swear in my client for that testimony.
Opening, Mr. Hoffman.
Your Honor, the petitioner in this case, or the plaintiff actually in this case, Fallon Handley, was having difficulty with Mr. Garcia for months and told him to get out of the house, and he would not get out of the house. He lived in the basement, and he told her that he was not going anywhere until he was served with papers. So he was served with papers in March. The hearing was heard approximately the middle of April, and Judge Biggie had in his possession a copy of the child support worksheet, which I had worked up at that time. I would say that child support worksheet did not account for the multi-child discount that Mr. Garcia might be entitled to. But whether or not it followed any rules, he still has an obligation to support his children. And he has brought those up to date. He was behind approximately 2 months, and then he just paid the last 2 payments last Friday. So he's at least recognizing that he has an obligation to pay child support, and he has done so. And we would acknowledge that that is current at this time.
Your Honor, if I may, sorry.
The original orders that were issued in March were issued by myself. There was no order for child support because none had been requested and nothing had been complied with for child support. I'm not sure how this ended up then in front of Judge Biggie for
I don't know either.
of those temporary orders, but he modified them, and I have reviewed and watched the hearing from April 10th, 2024. I watched the Zoom recording of that hearing. And obviously he did instate some child support in that hearing on April 10th. But there was no worksheet at that time. And there was nothing filed in the court file.
To my best of my recollection, he was either faxed a copy of it or emailed a copy of it at or about the time of the hearing. Because he asked for a child support worksheet. I do recall that.
And it did not make its way into the file.
And that's why after Ms. Park brought it to my attention, I did file it with the court.
Okay.
I thought it had been filed when Judge Biggie had it.
Ms. Park, you'd like to put on your client to start with?
Yes, Your Honor, I would.
Mr. Garcia, would you raise your right hand? You solemnly swear and or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, subject to the penalties for perjury in the state of Kansas.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Park.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please state your name.
Adrian Joe Garcia.
And you go by AJ?
Yes, ma'am.
AJ, how old are you?
I'm 38 years old.
And where do you reside?
I live in Zurich, Kansas.
And that is in Ricks County?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you, you understand that we're here today to talk about your 3 youngest children, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And who's the mother of those children?
Fallon.
And she is the petitioner in this matter?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You and Fallon began your relationship when?
It would have been 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago.
Okay. AJ, you have a total of 7 children, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Tell the court just briefly the names and first names and ages of your older children.
Okay. My oldest daughter is Lillian Garcia. She's 15 years old. And then I have Natalie Garcia. She is 13 years old. Aubrey Garcia. She is 12 years old. And then I have a daughter that I just recently found out about. Her name is Harlow. She's 4 years old. And then I have Everly with Fallon, and she is 4 years old. And then I have identical twin boys, Beckett and Bowden, and they are 16 months old now.
And the oldest three children, Lillian, Natalie, and Aubrey, those children you share with your ex-wife, Chelsea, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you and Chelsea were divorced in Rooks County?
Yes.
And there are custody and support orders in a Rooks County case that concern those three children, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And that case number would be 19 DM 33, to the best of your recollection.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Okay. And you have a child support order in that case for your older three children, correct?
Yes, it was just recently modified.
Okay. And so you were aware of Judge Jerice presiding over that case as well?
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. And in May of 2024, there was a modification of support done in that case in which you're ordered to pay $609 a month for your older three children.
Yes.
Okay. And then you did have some child support arrears for those children as well. Is that right?
Yes.
And that was in the amount of $4,611.20.
Yes.
Okay. And you're ordered to pay an additional amount above the 609 each month to satisfy the arrears.
Yes.
Okay. And you have parenting time with those older three children. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Before I kind of move on from that, one of your children has some special physical needs. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And which child is that?
That's Aubrey.
Okay. And what is her special need?
She has spina bifida and hydrocephalus. She walks with crutches. She up until a recent major surgery, she had to straight cath herself, in order to use the restroom. She wears AFOs on her feet. She quite a few doctor's appointments, quite a few medical things, but she does really, really well.
And primarily physical challenges for her, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
She's in regular school and
yeah, she receives some help in school as far as some special education, but she doesn't have any issues.
Okay.
Her ailments are all physical.
Okay. And you have parenting time with the older three children. You have an agreement that's filed with the court
Yes.
regarding the custody and parenting time of those children, correct?
Yes.
And what is the agreement?
It is every other weekend and one day during the week. I have them for a few hours.
Okay. And is that what you still follow?
No, that hasn't been followed for quite a while. When me and Fallon were living together, there was a time that they would come in we'd have them on Thursdays through Monday. And then now that me and Fallon are apart, we have pretty free reign. If there's been a couple of times where Natalie wants to just come stay with me. We're pretty loose. Yes, we have the orders in place, but it stays pretty loose.
Okay.
And they've actually requested to be with me more. They want to go back to the Thursdays through Mondays, and me and Chelsea just
Hearsay, Your Honor.
handle that.
Sustained on the hearsay.
So in general, AJ, do you have the children more than every other weekend, the older three children?
I would say no, not at this moment. No, I don't.
And is that, do you have some challenges with space at your current residence for that to happen?
Yes and no. It's tight, but there's room for everybody.
Okay. What about their activities? Are the older three girls fairly busy?
Yeah, they're very involved. Lillian, the oldest, not so much because she had to have 2 surgeries. So she's kind of got a break this summer, and Natalie is playing volleyball and such. Aubrey isn't, she does summer weights and stuff like that, but not something that I have, I have to be there for. But so I try to chase Natalie's volleyball and stuff like that. Normally Lillian was completely involved too, and Natalie, so it was always pretty crazy in the summer times trying to chase their sports around and make it to whatever we could when we could.
Okay. And then you mentioned Harlow. So let's talk about Harlow a little bit. You said Harlow is 4 years old, correct?
Yes.
And when did you find out that you were the father of Harlow?
It's six to 8 months ago, maybe. It was after a paternity test.
Okay, so you were unaware that you had this child.
Yes. I mean, there was hearsay, and rumor, but I didn't know for sure until after that.
Okay, and you didn't have a relationship with this child?
No.
Okay. In the process of a court case, you were brought in as a party and paternity tested, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and the paternity test revealed that you were her father?
Yes.
Okay. Was there a recent child support order done for that child?
Yes, ma'am.
And that was in Brooks County as well, correct?
Yes.
And that was case number 24 DM 12?
Yes.
Okay. Also with Judge Drees?
Yes.
Okay. In that case, you were ordered to pay child support for Harlow for $156 a month. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then you were also ordered to pay back support, and that would be relative back to her date of birth,
Yes.
basically, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And so you had a child support judgment for $7,332 for that?
Yes.
Okay. Now you're not paying any extra each month towards that arrearage, is that right?
No, not right at the moment. No, I'm
Okay. But you still do owe that child support arrearage?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
At this point in time, do you have a relationship with Harlow?
No, I do not.
Is that something that you'd like to work towards in the future?
Yes. Yes. One thing at a time.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit now about your children with Fallon. So tell me a little bit about Everly. What's she like?
Oh, Evie Joe. She's so I call her my angel baby, my second chance at being a dad, but she's a 4-year-old. She likes to play. She loves playing with her toys. She loves being the center of attention. She loves she's pretty carefree and she's got an attitude, but she's great. She likes to snuggle. She likes to watch Encanto with Dad. We like singing the songs. She likes mac and cheese, and she's a 4-year-old.
Okay. Now tell me a little bit about your boys, Beckett and Bowden. Now these are the twins, correct?
The twins, yeah.
Okay. Tell me about them.
It's funny how identical twins can be so different, even though they're exactly alike. Beckett is, he's the bigger of the two. He's so soft and loving, and it's easy to hurt his feelings, and he's such a lovey, sweet little boy. And then Bowden seems lately to wake up and choose violence. He can be a little bit crazy. He's very somber. He doesn't show a lot of, emotion in his face or anything like that. He does do some smiling, obviously, and stuff like that. But he likes to pick on his brother, and he likes to pick on his sister, and he's something else.
Okay.
He's a lot of fun.
And then how do the younger 3 children get along with Lillian, Natalie, and Aubrey?
Oh, they get along really well. Lillian is Everly's sissy. They have a very tight relationship. I'd say the relationship with Lillian and the boys probably isn't as close as it is with like Natalie and the boys. Natalie and the boys are really close. They that situation is part of the reason that the older girls have asked me and their mom if they can spend more time with me so that they can spend more time with their sister and brothers.
Mr. Hoffman noted earlier that you and Fallon stopped living together in March of 2024. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. When you were served with some ex parte orders.
Yes.
In this case.
Yep.
Okay. Prior to that, I would like to have you talk about how you and Fallon shared your parenting responsibilities before you moved out.
Everything I've always said, I used to say this to Fallon all the time, regardless of our situation and relationship, we always made a good team. everything was whatever we needed to do to help each other out. I did baths, I did dinner, I did diapers, I did everything that she did. I mean, there were times when she works as the DON at the nursing home, so she would have to leave, in the middle of the night to go cover a shift, and I took care of the kids, through the night, and then she took on a second job.
Let me stop you and we'll go back
Okay.
to that. So Fallon works as a nurse, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and she's the director of nursing at the nursing home in Stockton?
Yes.
Okay. And what responsibilities did she have does she have as director of nursing?
She is the head of the entire nursing department there. If there are issues, it comes down on her. If there are, if there are positions that need to be filled, she is the one that has to take care of it, so it's her responsibility really to take care of all of it.
Okay. So in the event that they don't have enough nurses to cover shifts at the nursing home,
Yes.
it's her responsibility to find coverage or to cover it herself.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would that happen during your relationship?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
How frequently would that happen?
It was in waves. There might be a time where she would lose a nurse. And so she might have to do like the 6P to 6A, like 3 days in a row. And then maybe it wouldn't happen again for a couple of weeks or maybe even a month. And then it might happen again. Or it was also sporadic here and there, and there were also times where she would just be called in for a few hours.
Mm-hmm.
Something happened and she would have to run in, and take care of it. And so I was there,
Okay.
to take care of the kids.
And your testimony earlier that you were doing baths and meals and diapers, those are things that both of you were doing, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had a young daughter, excuse me, and twin babies.
Yeah.
So that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Okay.
It's
And it took both of you to get everything done that needed to be done.
Yeah. Yes. There were things that she was really good at, and there were things that I was good at. And so, when it came to that, I always thought that we worked really well together. I mean, if she needed something, I hopped on it and back and forth. Of course, we went at it here and there, but that's just part of the dynamic.
So you mentioned that she also had a secondary employment at some point, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
When was that?
I can't recall the actual date.
Okay.
I know it lasted just a few months. It was when the new restaurant and bar in Plainville opened up.
Okay. And what's the name of that place?
The Handlebar.
Okay.
Yep.
And so she was working there.
Yes.
What was she doing there?
Waiting tables, and
How many days a week would she be working at the bar?
2 or 3 days a week.
Okay. And what hours?
Oh, 6 o'clock in the evening till closing time. So, and of course she would help clean up and everything like that, as far as being a waitress. So, probably home by 11 o'clock or midnight.
Okay. And so who was with the children when she worked that second job?
I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
During that time, were there days that all 3 of the older girls were with you as well as the 3 younger ones?
Yeah, not real often, but yeah, once in a while. Yeah, all 3 girls would be with us, or all 6.
All 6 kids. Okay. So during the relationship when you were living together, you had that back and forth, that sharing of responsibilities.
Yes.
What is your employment now?
I am self-employed.
And what do you do?
I work in the oil field as a roustabout and a welder, and just pretty much whatever they'll pay me to do, I do it.
Okay. And do you work for any particular business, or is it just multiple employers?
It's multiple. Yeah. I do jobs for anybody who calls me and needs something done, and I can fit it in. I do it.
Okay. And what is the benefit of then being self-employed as far as your time is concerned?
I do have freedom. I have the freedom to, schedule things differently in order to schedule them around, events or the care of the children, anything like that. And really, in all honesty, that's the main reason why I've tried to make such a go at this, is because of the freedom. That way I can share all the responsibility.
And how long have you been doing this where you've been self-employed?
Since February.
Okay. So
of this year.
You're just starting this business.
Yeah, I had started it before, and then I took on a full-time job, and then I lost that job. And in February, I decided to pick back up on this full-time.
Okay. Let's talk about your proposed parenting plan. Your Honor, did you receive my exhibits?
Yes. Your proposed exhibits?
Yes. John, did you get my exhibits?
I did.
Okay, so I'm going to have him look at Exhibit D. Do you need me to share the screen, or do you guys have access to that where you can look at it?
Let me pull it up.
Is Exhibit D your temporary parenting plan?
Yes. Should I continue, Your Honor? Or?
Yeah, I've got it up.
Okay.
My D is parenting plan of the father.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. AJ, I'm going to have you look at Exhibit D over here on this screen. And do you recall seeing that before?
Yes.
Okay. And this is your proposed parenting plan. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. You're proposing that the court order joint legal custody, which would be joint decision-making, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then what is your proposal for the residency of the children?
Shared.
Okay. So
shared residency.
you'd like you and Fallon to share the residency of the children equally, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And as far as a schedule, you've made a proposal as far as a schedule for that shared time. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that schedule of the utmost importance to you?
Absolutely not. Whatever I've said, whatever needs to happen that is the best for the kids and the best for me and Fallon as the parents, as far as our schedules, that just ends up at the end of the day as equal time with the kids. I will do whatever it takes as far as working with anybody in order to just make sure that the parenting time is equal. I really just want more time with our children.
Okay. And so the actual, schedule of that day to day is less important than the fact that you want more time with the kids.
Absolutely. Yes. Okay. I can try to make whatever work.
So your proposal is that you share custody on an alternating week basis, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that on each week, the opposite parent would have an overnight visit on Wednesday.
Yes.
So it would break up the time away from each parent.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. The benefits for you of a week on, week off schedule would be primarily for your work. Is that right?
Yes.
And
yes.
why is that?
There can be things that I can schedule in the off weeks where I really need to put in a lot of hours, and I can schedule it out on a weekly basis. So on the weeks that the projects I take on that can be done, it's not pressing for time. Mm-hmm. I can do those during the weeks that I have the children so that I'm still there, in order to take care of them. And then the weeks that I don't have them, I can work the extra hours. Of course, even then, if there's an issue or something like that, I am more than willing to always take the kids and have them, so. Ultimately,
you're flexible, but
yes,
a schedule like this would allow you to kind of, load up the weeks that you aren't with the kids, and then ease back on the weeks that you are with them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you're just suggesting that you and Fallon would work together on holidays. But if you can't agree on who should have the kids for a particular holiday, it would just be whoever has that week of parenting time with the kids, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other than they should be with you on Father's Day
Yes,
and with her on Mother's
yes,
Day.
absolutely. Yes.
You've made another request in your parenting plan, which is, I think, kind of generally referred to as a right of first refusal. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what is your request as far as this right of first refusal?
Just that if there is an issue where, let's say Fallon has to go into work, or, because it happens, I understand, if she has to go into work and she needs somebody to take care of the kids, or if, she has a doctor's appointment or a date or whatever, if you've got somewhere to go and you need a babysitter for 4 or 5 hours or 2 hours or whatever, that I would just have the option to have them instead of, not only does it give me more time with our kids, but it also saves money at the end of the day too. So just, anytime I can have them would be great.
And then that would work in reverse too, that if you had something come up where you couldn't take care of the kids during your time, you would offer it to her first.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And that would give both of you the opportunity to provide care over a third party.
Yes.
Okay. AJ, I just want to kind of go back to this issue of the shared time. Your time with the kids during the period that you were living together.
Yes.
What was your interaction with the kids on a daily basis?
Oh, I cared for them on a daily basis, no different than anybody else that was around the house. Every night before bed, I sat with Everly, watched TV, watched Encanto, sang the songs with her, and she went to bed. When the boys were born, I did the same thing with the boys when they were old enough. We would sit in the chair and they would go to sleep and I would take them to bed. That was a daily occurrence. Okay. I went from, of course, that to nothing. So,
not nothing, but it's significantly reduced.
Yes, significantly reduced time.
Okay. And under the temporary order that Judge Biggie made, it was every other weekend.
Yes.
Correct? Okay. Have you continued to try to keep in contact with the children in other ways?
Yeah, I try to FaceTime Everly at least every day, if not every other day. Okay. And it's not a lengthy conversation. Just ask her about her day. And a lot of times she might be playing or doing something, and that's fine. I just want to be able to say hi and ask her about her day and maybe tell her about my day if she asks. And that's the end of it.
Was there a recent FaceTime where she acted out your nighttime routine?
Yeah. So
Tell us about that.
So just the other day, she had the phone on the floor and she had it leaned up and she said, "Just a minute, Daddy." And I said, "Okay." And she walked away and she came back with 2 blankets and she laid one on the floor and then she curled up with one and laid next to the phone and said, "I'm going to snuggle Dad." And I said, "Okay, honey," and then she says this often, "Daddy, can you come snuggle me?" And I can't, and she says, "Well, I want you to come snuggle me." It was our thing. It was always something that we did together. I mean, it was, like I said, it was a daily occurrence.
Why do you think it's in the children's best interest for the court to adopt a shared parenting schedule for the kids?
I think it's beneficial for them, psychologically, to continue to have mom and dad together, or to have mom and dad as much as possible, even though we can't be together. I mean, we were one way or another, we were home every single day and they were always around us. That can't happen anymore. And just because our relationship has failed, I don't think it's fair to our children that they lose me too, or time with me.
Okay. In terms of the child support and finances that we've been talking about, there was a suggestion by Mr. Hoffman that, even though you disagreed with the orders, you went ahead and paid.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. You did that because you were advised to, correct?
Yes.
And we talked about the fact that that was a court order.
Yes.
And you complied with it.
Yes.
Okay. Was that difficult for you to meet those financial responsibilities?
Yes. Yes. Very difficult.
Okay. And you weren't able to pay on time each time. Is that right?
Yes. There was, this last payment was late. I paid both payments on I think it was the 19th or 20th for June 1st and June 15th. Before that, 3 or 4 days was the latest it has been. I've made all the payments.
Okay. But that's been a struggle.
Yes. Yes.
You have submitted what's our Exhibit C. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And if you could look at Exhibit C1 with me, can you tell me what that is?
That is my business income. That is a quarterly statement.
Okay. So this is a document that was produced by you, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And how did you produce this document?
I pay for an Intuit QuickBooks subscription that's linked to my bank account, my business bank account, which is the only bank account I have, but it's linked to my business account, and it monitors every transaction, and all the transactions are you signify, yes, you categorize which ones are which, and it also tracks mileage and everything like that too. And then I can go in there and I can type in the dates for a quarterly statement, and this is what it spits out. It reads invoices and then checks deposited. It monitors the account and the invoices. Everything's pending, so everything always matches up. It's a program that I pay for.
Okay. And so as a result of that program, you're able to create a report showing what your income was and then your expenses for that same period over the first quarter.
Yes.
Correct? Okay.
Yes.
So C1 represents your quarterly income and expenses for the first quarter of 2024.
Yes.
Okay. And then I'll have you look at C2. This is, I guess tell us what this is.
It's the same thing, only for the second quarter.
Okay. And this is a partial
Yes.
report. Is that
yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you can see at the top that it's dated June 30th of 2024.
Yes.
And obviously
still 5 days from now.
Right.
Yes.
Haven't reached that point yet. So we haven't gotten all of the income and expenses
Yeah.
in for this quarter.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So that being said, I'll have you look at Exhibit E. We'll start with E2, which is a child support worksheet that I prepared. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you've seen this before, right?
Yes.
Okay. You have, we've used the income of $38,064 for you for an annual income. Did you
Yes.
see that there?
Yeah.
Do you think that's a good estimate?
That's fair. Yes.
Okay. And is that in line with the income adopted for you in the child support cases with your other children?
That number, that 38,064 is what was on my tax returns. Now, how they worked the numbers and everything like that for income, is different. I think it shows it different, but they also have other factors included.
Okay. And we have included, well, let's finish talking about this and then we'll go to the other one. But are you okay with using that number for your income?
Yes.
Okay. And as far as Fallon's income is concerned, did you have any documentation of what she made?
No.
Okay. And the number of 91,000 that was provided by her attorney, is that
yes.
correct? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so then you are asking the court for a credit to your child support with Fallon on the basis that you are court ordered to pay child support for the other 4 children. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And the credit you've asked for is $765 a month. Is that correct?
Yes.
That would be the $609 that you paid for Chelsea and the $156 that you paid for Nessa.
Yes.
Okay. You additionally pay more to Chelsea to satisfy the arrears each month. Is that right?
Yes.
But
yes.
you're not asking for a credit
No.
on this worksheet for that number.
No.
Okay. All right. And so then your proposal is that you and Fallon would share the children's time equally.
Yes, ma'am.
And you understand that there's 2 methods for calculating child support when the time is shared equally. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. And you are asking for the judge to order what's called an equal parenting time formula.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Rather than having you and Fallon share expenses 50-50 and then account to each other for that, you would prefer the court to order an equal parenting time formula
Yes.
for her. And then the court has to determine which of you would be the expense payer.
Yes.
Correct. And you would like that to be Fallon.
Yes.
Okay. You have not included any amounts for work-related childcare or health insurance. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And why not?
I do not carry them for insurance purpose. I don't have insurance for the children.
And who does?
Fallon does.
Okay. And have you seen any documentation about the cost that she pays for the insurance premium for the children?
No.
In addition, who pays for the work-related childcare?
Fallon.
Okay. And have you seen any documentation about the costs for that?
No.
Okay. So you understand, and we've discussed the fact that our child support worksheets are incomplete
Yes.
because those numbers are usually included in child support and we didn't have them.
Yes.
Okay. But the model of the equal parenting time formula with Fallon paying the direct expenses, that is the model that you prefer.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to have you look at Exhibit G. Or I'm sorry. I'll take that back. I want to have you look at Exhibit F. And Exhibit F is what?
Me and Chelsea's
Your court order
court order.
concerning the support between you and Chelsea.
Yes.
Okay. And this is for your older 3 children.
Yes.
Okay. And so you see in Exhibit F, page 3, that's in the red numbers at the bottom, that the court has determined your gross monthly income to be $3,172. Do you see that there?
Yes.
Okay. So is that where you came up with the $38,064 for the child support worksheet you submitted?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then also the quarterly statements reflect that.
Okay. And you submitted those quarterly statements to the court trustee in those other cases?
Yeah, I the first one is due July 1st, and I will have those prepared and sent to them as well.
Okay. So you're just asking the court to use the income that it adopted for you in those other cases?
Yes, ma'am.
In this case?
Yes.
And to give you credit for the child support you're ordered to pay for your other children?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I would move to admit exhibits C, D, E, F, and G.
Any objection, Mr. Hoffman?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. C, D, E, F, and G are admitted.
Thank you. Okay. AJ, we've talked about your request for parenting time and custody changes, and then we talked about the child support. One other issue that came up in the temporary orders was access to some personal property. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Were you and Fallon able to work it out as far as access to some of the things that you needed from the home?
No, I still have not received any of that.
What specifically are you requesting?
The rest of my personal clothes, the clothes and that of my older 3 children. I have a lawnmower, weed eater, grills, tools, and miscellaneous also.
Now, we've had some correspondence with Fallon's attorney that she would like a list of absolutely everything that you want from the house.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Why is that not a workable solution right now?
Well, it's not a workable solution right now because we shared the expenses for everything in that house. So for me to try to walk through it and point out what's exactly mine and what's exactly hers, except for, clothing and maybe something that came out of the house that or the apartment I was in before me and Fallon ever moved in together. It's really hard to separate everything on what is hers and what is mine. The income was together.
Okay. And so that is an issue that we may need to work on for the future
Yes.
resolution of this case. For right now, you're requesting the rest of your clothing.
Yes.
And the rest of your older daughter's clothing.
Yes.
And there are any personal items that they have at the house.
Yes.
And then you're also requesting the lawnmower and the sprayer.
Yes. Yeah. There's a weed eater also.
And a weed eater.
And I didn't put that in there.
Okay. And then that's immediately what would take care of that issue. We would leave any other issues about personal property for later.
Yes.
All right. I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross-examination, Mr. Hoffman.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Garcia, you live in Zurich?
Yes, sir.
You live with your grandmother?
Yes, sir.
What's your grandmother's name?
Kirby Mojo, Mongeau.
Do you pay her any rent?
I pay the mortgage on her house.
Okay. And what is your grandmother's age?
72, I believe.
Okay. And how many bedrooms are in her house?
There are 2 bedrooms, but there's one that is an office that is easily converted to a bedroom. So that would make 3 total.
Is that where you do the play and pack with your twins?
No, they sleep. They sleep in the room with me.
Okay. And when you have custody of these 3 children that you have with Fallon, does your mother sometimes come from Colorado to assist you in taking care of them?
She has, yes. The last time I had parenting time with the kids, she was not present.
Okay. Before that, did she come out?
Yes, she did.
How often?
She would come either Friday night or Saturday morning.
Okay.
And she would stay until Sunday morning,
Okay.
Sunday early afternoon.
She would help you with the children. Is that correct?
No, that isn't correct.
Now you've got 3 other children, Lily, Natalie, and Aubrey. Do their weekend visitations coincide with the same ones as you have with Fallon's children?
Yes, sir.
So every other weekend you'd have 6 children and 3 adults in that 2-bedroom home.
Yes.
Let's talk about your work history at this time. You said you're now working as a roustabout.
Roustabout, welding, anything oil field related.
Okay. And who do you normally work for?
I work for several different companies, but
Tell me some.
recently I've done a lot of work for HG Oil. I work for Baskel Tank Service, Baskel Well Service. I've also done some work on some farm equipment, Watson Brothers Farms.
Okay.
That's just right off the top of my head.
Yeah, your work history is you started as a rig pusher, is that correct?
No, I started as a rig operator, actually as a floor hand over 15 years ago.
And did you work for Murphin at that time?
Yes, sir.
And were you fired from that job?
No.
Objection, relevance.
And were you fired from any other jobs that you had?
Hang on, Mr. Hoffman.
Oh, I'm sorry, Aaron.
We've got an objection as to relevance. What's the relevance of how he terminated his employment?
Well, the relevance would be is that he probably wasn't responsible.
Okay. Overruled.
Okay.
You can answer the question, Mr. Garcia.
Yes, I was fired from a job as a rig pusher for Husker Well Service.
Now, I noticed that during your the Exhibit H, where you talked about the text messages, there was some talk about you working in Lakin. That you had to go to Lakin to work?
Lakin.
Okay. Where do you generally work? Is it in the Plainville area?
It's mostly yes, but it goes. I have worked. It is the oil field, so I work. There are times that I can be working a few hours away from home.
How many hours a week do you normally work?
It depends. Lately it's been 50, 60, sometimes more, sometimes less.
50 to 60 hours a week?
Yes, sir.
And you believe that provides you the flexibility to have these children in a shared custody relationship?
Absolutely.
And do you plan to continue to work 50 to 60 hours per week?
No, sir.
Have you ever had shared custody with Lily, Natalie, or Aubrey?
No, sir.
That's always been every other weekend. Is that correct?
Yes, on paper.
And with Fallon, you had the 3 children. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you recently have found out that you had another child. Is that
Yes,
correct?
sir.
So her name is Harlow.
Yes, sir.
She's 4 years of age.
Yes, sir.
And she would be approximately the same age as Everly.
Yes, sir.
You talked about having a second chance with the children's Everly, Beckett, and Bowden. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And why are you saying it's a second chance? Did you mess up with the first chance?
When I was younger and my older 3 were younger, I was under the impression that as long as a father worked to the bone and provided the money, that he was doing his part as a dad. And because of that, I missed out on a lot of the things that I've been able to experience with me and Fallon's children because of that. So in retrospect, I say that it's my second chance. It was my second chance at being a dad right the first time because I missed so much with the older 3 as they were growing up at that age.
Your relationship with Lily, Natalie, and Aubrey, do they sometimes also take care of your children with Fallon?
Yeah, they'll help out, of course.
And this child, Harlow, when did you find out that she was your child?
After the paternity test, it's been, like I said, I can't give you an approximate date, but it was six months or so ago.
Your last employment where you worked for somebody was called Redbud. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And Redbud is not in Stockton, is it?
No.
You earlier testified Redbud was in Stockton. It's in Plainville. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And how long did you work in Plainville at Redbud?
6 months.
Okay. And were you fired?
Yes, sir.
And why were you fired?
I was fired for allegations of sexual harassment.
That's all I have at this time, Your Honor. I would ask you, you presently owe $11,000 in back child support.
Yes, sir.
Okay. No other questions at this time.
Redirect, Ms. Park.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your situation with living with your grandma in Zurich,
Yes.
is that your ideal living situation for all time?
Absolutely not. No, I am. I've said in text messages as well that it would be financially irresponsible for me to make a sudden move, not knowing what the finances will be at this moment. I pay the mortgage on that house. There is plenty of room, even though it's tight, for everybody to be at for now. I am actively looking for a place that will be more accommodating to having all the children together.
And a big factor in that, your ability to have a different place is how much money you have.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay. So you were served with an ex parte order requiring you to vacate the home that you shared with Fallon.
Yes.
And your grandmother's residence was your only option at that point, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And since March, you have not made any moves because of the issue of your finances.
Yes.
Okay. And not only this case, but also, child support that you owed for your other cases as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Hoffman asked you about whether your mom comes to help you with the children, and you said that's not true. Can you explain that?
Well, he asked me if my mom cares for the children. She helps, but I care for our children.
Okay. What's the distinction there?
She may do some dishes, or she may help put a meal together, but I'm the one that bathes the children. I'm the one that changes their diapers. I'm the one that gets them ready for bed, gets them milk, puts them to bed, all of that. My mom comes to enjoy her grandchildren and to lift a helping hand as far as the things that I just said. But as far as their direct care, as a matter of fact, I almost won't let anybody do it.
And is that the same way with your older daughters as far as them helping with the children?
Yes, they will help. They'll go get Everly a cup of milk, or they will hold their brothers and play with them, or stuff like that. But those girls don't change diapers. They don't. I will say that there are times that the girls are hopping in the shower and Everly will take a shower, or whatever. But as far as the direct care of the children, I do that 100%.
In fact, there was a situation not too long ago with the twins having very severe diaper rash. Is that correct?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
They had diaper rash so bad that we tried to get medication for it, and the medication didn't quite work. So Fallon had a plan, what she would like to see done. And of course I followed that plan. And we had gone to the doctor for this diaper rash before the day before I was to take them for the weekend. Fallon communicated to me kind of what she had been doing, changing their diapers every 2 hours, trying to keep them dry, keep an Aquaphor on them, keeping a barrier there and everything. And I followed the same regimen. The only thing different I did was I soaked them in some oatmeal to help out. And when they went back to Fallon, they were almost completely clear.
So I guess the important thing about that is the two of you conquered this issue together.
Yes,
Correct?
absolutely. Yes.
She communicated what she thought a good plan would be, and you agreed.
Yes.
Okay. And she told you what she thought a good regiment would be for their care, and you followed it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And changing twins' diapers every 2 hours is not an easy task.
No, it's
right?
not.
Okay.
It's not. Especially through the night.
Okay. And part of the plan was to leave them out of diapers when possible, right?
Yes. Yeah.
The objection, this has nothing to do with the cross-examination. It's redirect.
It's not part of redirect.
Okay, Your Honor, I mean, the questions were directed towards him as in terms of other people caring for the kids. And so I was eliciting testimony that he's doing the care. But I'll move on. You also were asked some questions about your schedule.
Yes.
The 50, 60 hours a week that you're working.
Yes.
Okay. Again, tell us how that is going to work with shared residential custody.
Well, with shared residential custody, I have worked the hours that I have worked only because I don't have our children with me. I can dictate the hours that I work when I have our children. You know, I'll work the weekends that I don't have the kid. I'll work 7 days a week. But when I have the children, I'm done. I do not do any work. Their care is 100%. I can do that throughout the week. Like I said, as far as setting up situations where I can, things that need built or something like that, or where I have to go and start to complete a job that may take several days. So it's not a rush deal. I can set that up so that I can care for the children while also being able to work. As I said, all the hours that I've been working has only been because I haven't had the children. So I'm trying to, make as much money as I can.
Okay. And so like you said before, are you able to plan the jobs where you have to travel 2 hours away from Stockton or Zurich?
Yes.
On the time that you're not, you don't have custody of the kids?
Yes, absolutely.
And you're able to kind of front load your work hours into the weeks where you don't have the children?
Yes.
Okay. And then scale back on them on the weeks that you do?
Yes.
Okay. Or plan jobs that don't require you to go so far out of town?
Yes.
On those weeks?
Yes.
Okay. You were also asked a question about your termination from Red Bud Village. First of all, did you testify that Red Bud Village was in Stockton?
No.
I don't think that was the case, but you also testified that there were allegations of sexual harassment, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And were those allegations founded?
Not as far as I know. I was told there was an investigation that I was not included on. I was never interviewed. I was never asked anything. Nothing was ever reported.
And in fact, were you made aware of any specifics of any allegations against you?
No, it was all ballooned. I was later on told that Fallon facility.
Hearsay.
And we can't talk about what others told you.
Yep.
But since your termination from that employment,
yes,
have you been contacted by individuals who work there to do the job that you were previously terminated from?
Yes, I was actually just contacted yesterday. I was actually just
yes or no?
Yeah, yes.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
I have
Any
nothing.
cross, Mr. Hoffman?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, Ms. Park, as I understand his testimony, he's going to work a 50 or 60-hour week every other week, and then the week he has the kids, he's not going to work.
No, Your Honor, and I can clarify that the children do have daycare. So he would work during work hours, but just not the excessive hours that he would in his off weeks.
Who's providing the daycare?
We can testify to that, Your Honor.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Hoffman.
I
Would you
call
call your
Fallon.
client?
Yes, Your Honor. Fallon?
Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear and or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, subject to the penalties for perjury in the state of Kansas?
Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Fallon, tell us your name
Fallon Brianne Hanley.
and your address. Again.
We started living together in 2020
Okay, and at that time, were you living at,
and 21.
and again, were you in a relationship with Mr. Garcia at that time?
Yes, we were.
The home where you live, can you give me an idea about the sleeping arrangements with the children?
So at my house, my daughter has her own bedroom and my boys have their own cribs, but they are in the same bedroom until they are older. And then I have extra bedrooms in my house as well. So if they would like an extra bedroom when they get older, that's an option.
Okay, and the children, while you were at work, where do the children go to daycare at this time?
So my daughter Everly goes to daycare full time, 5 days a week, and daycare is hard to find right now. So my twin boys are going to the daycare with Everly about 1 day a week, another daycare about a day a week. And then during the summer, we currently have a high school girl who watches them about 3 days a week. But 2 of those mornings, I pay another daycare in town to keep them for the first part of that morning.
Okay. And has that been working out fairly well?
Yes, I make it work. I have always found, care for the children and made sure that they had what they needed.
What presently are you paying for daycare expenses at this time?
It varies week to week. On average, it's about $500 a week.
And is that just during the summer or is that during the school year as well?
That is currently what I'm paying during the summer. Come school year, I'm hoping the boys will have a permanent full-time daycare spot, but it'll still be about that same amount.
Let's talk about school. Does Everly go to school?
Yes, she just completed her first year of 3-year-old preschool.
Okay, and who normally took her to school?
I take her to school every morning.
And who picked her up after school?
It would either be myself or another mom. Our kids go to preschool together and they go to daycare together. So her and I have an arrangement of who will pick up the kids. We do a carpool every day.
Did Mr. Garcia ever take the children to school?
It would be very rare if I couldn't do it or if the boys were sick or something came up. He would have done it maybe once, twice at most.
You have close family living in the Plainville area?
Yes. So my father and stepmother lives in Plainville. My grandmother lives in Plainville. And then my mother works from home and is in the area quite frequently.
Do they also assist with taking care of the children?
They don't take care of my kids, no. My family has been very involved with my children from day one. They like to spend time with them. We go on walks, we go to the park, we play, but they don't provide care for my children.
Okay. Where are you employed?
I'm employed at Redbud Village.
And that, of course, is in Plainville.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you are the director of nursing?
Yes, I am.
What are some of your job duties as the director of nursing?
So as the director, I do the scheduling for the nursing department. I handle the day-to-day operations. I do some budgeting, state reports, most of the day-to-day operations. It's a variety of different things. I do investigations, that type of thing.
Okay. Let's talk about when did you get your nursing degree?
I graduated with my BSN in 2018 from Washburn University.
And when did you you became a nurse at that time?
Yes, after I passed my NCLEX. Yep.
Good. And how long have you been working at Redbud?
So I started working in Redbud in 2019 PRN when I moved back to the area. And then I became full-time as the director of nursing in 2021.
Yeah. And your income is approximately $90,000 per year?
Yes.
Are there ever any instances where you have to work and you have no one to take care of your children?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay, and who would take care of your children during those times?
Like when AJ and I were together or currently?
Well, when you and AJ were together.
So there was times I would actually bring my children in to work with me. There was a time I had the double stroller pushing my boys in there, getting work done. I have my own office, my own area in there, and they can come in there with me. Also, my family will watch them quite a bit. There was times throughout the evening when AJ and I were together that he was not around. He was not present. I was at home with our 3 children and his 3 children numerous times.
In fact, did Lily live with you guys for some period of time?
Yes. So about the same time my daughter was born, May of 2020, Lily and his oldest daughter had moved in with us and lived with us from that time on up until the time that AJ and I split and separated in September of 2022. And she immediately moved out and has lived with her mom ever since.
Do you know whether or not AJ has ever had a shared custody arrangement with his first wife?
No. So when I met AJ, he was getting his kids every other weekend and that was it. He did not see them anymore. The further our relationship progressed and the more my relationship grew with his children, we became very close and they actually started coming over more. They would stay every Thursday night. They would come and stay. And the weekends we had them, it was every Thursday to Monday. But now, again, since we have split, they stay at their mother's unless it is his weekend to have them.
Okay. You have some concerns about AJ's temper at times?
Yes. So the first time we split was back in September of 2022. I was currently pregnant with the twins at the time, has a very big temper, a drinking problem at times, and he was very upset about an argument at the time. And what happened is he went to go raise his fist and to go hit, and he ended up hitting the cabinet that was right next to my head. And my daughter was in that room right next to us present for this.
Did you get a PFA?
I did. And actually, Your Honor, you were the one that signed off on that in September of 2022. I had a PFA put into place immediately, and he was only allowed to see my daughter Everly with supervised visitations at that time.
You're familiar with what he has proposed? You've heard what he's proposing as custody at this point in time.
Correct. Yes.
And what concerns do you have about his proposal?
So I am very concerned. So when he was talking earlier, you heard him talk about every night he would hold them right before bedtime and he would watch movies with them and he would sing. But if you noticed, he would do those things while I was taking care of the day-to-day stuff that had to be prepared for the following day for an hour or so. You didn't hear him talk about bathing the kids every day because that is what I did. Every single day I would bathe our kids. I would take care of them. I would do their laundry. I would cook them meals. I would feed them food. I would transport them to school every day, pick them up, to daycare, pick them up. I would make sure day to day they had what they needed. So yes, he did hold them, at night for 30 minutes or so while I was preparing our kids' schedule and things they needed for the following day. But besides that, there was not a lot of involvement.
You provided him with a calendar of events for the children?
Correct. So for this last month, at the beginning of the month, Everly likes to be involved. She likes to dance. She likes to cheer. She's at that age where, you want to involve her in things that she's willing to and try new things, also appointments, etc. So the first day that he wanted to have this hearing, our son Bowden, our little twin, actually had a specialty appointment that day that he was made aware of, and still chose that day to have the court hearing be set for then, because he did not put it in his calendar, was unaware that appointment was even going on, even after he was notified. Also, our daughter had a 4-year-old checkup last Friday that I again texted him about on that same day at the beginning of this month to let him know. And he still did not go to the appointment. Actually told me that I should have reminded him to let him know that that was going on, because he put it down on the wrong month. And lastly, there was a time we went to the walk-in clinic. My son spiked a high fever, and AJ let him know, but he was unable to come to that due to work not being able to move that around.
This issue about personal property that we've had, have you denied him access to any of the personal property that he has in your house?
No, I have not denied him access. I just don't feel safe with him in the house without the law enforcement present and at black and white what he wants, because he's notorious for switching things up or possibly being dishonest at times.
Okay. You talked about you felt like he was stalking you during this time.
So
what's that about?
So I feel like my privacy has been invaded significantly since we have split. He did not want to leave the house when things were over. He wanted to be served papers. So that was done. And he just always knew about my whereabouts, what was going on. And I couldn't figure it out. I thought, for a while, this couldn't be. Well, there was a time we were out in the country driving around. I took somebody with me as a witness, and we intentionally drove around and sat in 2 different areas, and he showed up at both of those places where we were at in 2 separate parts of the country. And there's a witness for that as well. And then there was another time where we were at work coming back in May. I don't remember the exact date. I think late May. And one of my coworkers witnessed AJ coming on the property of Red.
It's hearsay unless she's available to testify.
She's not available to testify.
Sustained.
And I also found a tracker on my vehicle after that as well.
When did you find the tracker on the vehicle?
Shortly after somebody saw him.
Okay, and where was it that you found the tracker?
Right on the vehicle where he was witnessed reaching down on my vehicle underneath the back passenger bumper end.
Okay. And have you given that to the police?
Absolutely. And they are doing a full investigation. The KBI is involved as well. And that is right in the middle of being investigated.
As far as child support, AJ is current at this time. Is that correct?
Yes. He made his payments were late, but he did make his last payment last week to be up to date. And
tell us about what your proposal is as far as custody and parenting time.
I think the parenting time that we have right now is sufficient. These young children need a lot of care, a lot of time, a lot of patience. And I have been the main provider for them from the time they've been born. So every other weekend in visitations, every other Wednesday on the opposite Wednesday, I feel like is suitable for him. To make sure that my kids get what they need to be with me the rest of the time.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross-examination, Ms. Park.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Hanley, multiple times in your testimony, you referred to these children as your kids, correct?
Possibly, yeah.
Okay. And is that how you see them?
I mean, they are my children. Yeah. I mean, they're AJ's as well.
That's not what you said, right? You said they were yours.
Probably, yeah.
Okay. And that they needed to be with you, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do your children have a relationship with their dad?
They do. Yeah, they do.
Okay. And you think that every other weekend that you've that you've allowed him to have is sufficient for that relationship and that bond?
So at the age that they are at, and the involvement that AJ has had with the kids, his involvement isn't changing much. Actually, him having them every other weekend and him fully giving them 2 days in that evening is giving him more time now with them than he spent when we were together. There was not a lot of involvement when we were together, even living together.
Okay. So I want to go back to that issue a little bit. There was not a lot of involvement when you were together.
Correct.
But you've already testified that he did sit and hold the children at night.
For about 30 minutes or so an evening.
Okay. And did he participate in bath time?
Absolutely. Nope, he did not.
Not once.
He would say every once in a while, yeah, that was actually an argument that he would start with me all the time, is that I bathed our children too much. That kids don't need to be bathed.
Is that a yes or a no?
To what?
Did he participate in bath time?
Very rarely.
So is that a yes?
Very rarely, yes.
Okay. And did he change diapers?
Very rarely, hardly ever, I would say, especially if they were poopy when they were having their loose stools while they were being breastfed.
Okay. And did he wake up with them in the night?
Very rarely. Towards the end of our relationship, he did not. He actually slept in the basement in his other daughter's room that I provided while I had the baby monitor, and he slept down there the whole time and did not.
That was partly your choice as well, correct? Because your relationship was not in a good place at that time.
I would say it started in probably October, maybe of last year, or November. So before the relationship even got to the point where we were talking about separating. It was prior to that time.
So the answer to my earlier question is whether or not he woke up with them in the night. The answer was yes, he did, correct?
Rarely, yes.
Okay. It just wasn't as much as you would have liked.
It was not 50-50 is what you're asking. Correct.
That wasn't my question. My question was, did he wake up with them in the night? And I think your answer was yes.
Okay.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And there was never a time after you separated that AJ would take the baby monitor with him?
Not a time I can recall, no.
Okay. And so did AJ help prepare meals?
He would prepare meals when his other 3 daughters were at the house.
So is that a yes?
He would prepare meals on the every other weekend we had the kids, yes. Besides that, every other day of the week was usually myself.
Okay. And would he hold the children when they were needing comfort?
At times, yes, yeah.
Okay. And would he attend events with them?
I myself was there caring for the children, but he was present, paying attention to his other kids. He numerous times would tell me he's here to watch his daughters play. He's not here to hold Everly or entertain her. He's here for his oldest daughters. That's his priority. So yes, they were at the game with him and I presently, but I was the one providing care. I was feeding them. I was changing the diapers, etc.
Okay. So, I understand that your position is that you did everything and he did nothing, but you've admitted that he did many of these things that he testified to, correct?
Very rarely, but yeah, he would.
Okay. And your other testimony was that he did not provide care for the children when you were working?
He did at times, sometimes, yes. But there was times he would be out and about during the nights. He would claim he was working. There was a time he wasn't around that I actually had to go into work for an emergency situation. And he had his phone off and was elsewhere, unknown of whereabouts. And I had to have somebody else watch the kids. And then I took one kid up to work with me. Okay. So I would say it's not a fair statement to say he provides care for our children when I have to go into work. He does sometimes.
Did you have a secondary employment at the bar?
Yes, I did have a secondary employment for supplemental income because at that time AJ did not have consistent income. So I had to have supplemental income to provide for our children.
Okay, so that's a yes, right?
Yes.
Okay. And how often did you work at the bar?
Oh, maybe a couple evenings a week.
Okay. And what hours did you work when you worked at the bar?
It varied. I would make my schedule around my children's schedule. So if there was nothing going on an evening, I would work, a 6 p to 10 p, 10:30, depending on how long it took me to clean up. And then if it was like a Saturday lunch shift or something and we had nothing going on, I would work at that time because the kids normally would nap around that time. So I made my schedule around my children.
And who was home with the children when you were working at the bar?
Numerous people. AJ was there sometimes. At other times, I had to pay a sitter because he didn't want to sit at home with the kids all the time. My family has helped me as well. It was whoever I could find at that time, but it was not solely their father.
Okay, so AJ did provide care for the children when you were working, correct?
At times, yeah.
Okay, and those were times that you were not home,
Yeah.
correct? And AJ was taking care of the children.
Yes.
Okay. You went on to mention some times when you were at home and AJ was not, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
But there were times when you were not home and AJ was.
Yes.
Okay. And you have communicated with him about the issues with the twins' diaper rash?
Yes.
Okay. And he followed the plan that you asked him to?
Yes. The rash was pretty much healed by the time he received them Friday. It was pretty much healed.
But the two of you were able to communicate about that, and the care remained consistent between the two households during that parenting time.
I am unaware of what happens in his household when I'm not there.
Okay. But the diaper rash resolved.
It was resolved, yeah, before they went there. Absolutely. Yeah.
So you're saying they were completely healed and he didn't need to do anything at all to help continue their care?
I sent him text, and I'm sure, those texts are in there about what I had been doing for the week prior since I received them back from him on what needed to be done, the changing them, waking them up, all of that. And I preventatively continued to do that to make sure they didn't come back because their skin is very fragile.
So then if they were completely healed by the time they got to AJ, why would you need to give him those instructions?
For preventative measures. I just talked about that.
Okay. So you did coordinate about their care, right?
Yes.
Okay. And the rash was prevented because it was resolved at the end of his parenting time. Correct?
Yes.
I have several questions about this daycare arrangement. So Everly has full-time daycare 5 days a week.
Correct.
And who is her daycare provider?
Logan Warner.
And is that an in-home daycare?
Yes.
And that's Monday through Friday, 8 to 5?
It's about 7:40 to 5, yes.
Okay.
Our open hours.
And does that match up with your work hours?
Pretty well, yeah.
Okay. And then how much do you pay for Everly's care?
Hers is $150 a week.
Okay. And you mentioned that she goes to preschool.
Yes.
Where does she go to preschool?
At Plainville Elementary.
And does that occur during the school year, the regular school year?
Yes.
How many days a week does she go to preschool?
5 days a week from in the morning.
What times?
Well, the time starting in, that was last year. The times for this year will be around, we have not done enrollment yet, but around noon to about 3:30.
So her preschool will be in the afternoons this upcoming school year.
Yes.
And so how do you plan to transport her from daycare to preschool when that starts?
The same way I have this past year.
Which is what?
I will leave work to go bring her to, go pick her up from daycare and drop her off at preschool. And then I will pick her up, or, we'll do the routine like we have with the other mother, and then bringing them back to daycare.
And I assume that you set that up with her to go to preschool there, knowing that that arrangement was going to work with your work schedule, right?
No, she went to preschool there based off AJ and I's discussion of it would be better for her to go to school consistently 5 days a week than at the time, the other school option in town was not doing 5 days a week. So AJ and I discussed that it would be best for consistency and schedule for our daughter to send her to the elementary school there.
And when you made that decision, you also knew that your work would accommodate you to do the transportation, correct?
Both of our jobs at the time, yes.
Okay, so both of your jobs at the time, why was it important for that to coordinate with AJ's job?
Because there was talk of him wanting to be more involved and willing to bring her to school or do more things than what actually happened.
And then what are the arrangements for the boys for daycare?
So AJ and I had a daycare. I had found, when I found out I was pregnant with twins, I had searched high and low, all types of daycares. I had finally found a daycare in town that had been open for 15 years. She was great. Our daughter actually went there part-time when we first moved to town, and we lost that daycare due to her closing down and picking a different career path. And that was when my boys were 4 months old. So I actually took a longer maternity leave to provide care to them until I had daycare set up. And when that happened, from that point forward, I have been in contact with 2 daycares in town, and they take my boys when they have open availability. So they are not over their numbers. AJ and I have found a high school girl. Well, I have found her. AJ and I both have come to like her. We love her very dearly, who will watch the boys during the summer throughout the day. The problem with that is she's active in sports and she's active with weights. So I actually have to pay a daycare and after school rate, which is $20 a day, to keep our boys for about an hour and a half to 2 hours in the morning for then her to come get them. And then I pay her an hourly rate as well.
Okay, so what are the 2 daycares in town that they go to periodically?
Logan, Warner, which is where Everly goes to.
And how often do they go to Logan's?
They go there about every Monday, but for example, this last Monday she was closed, so I had to find alternative daycare for her.
Okay, and then how much do you pay Logan for the boys' care?
The boys' care is $30 a day per boy. So $60 a day.
Per child?
Yep.
And that is every week?
That is just for Mondays.
Once a week?
Yep.
Okay. And then what is the other daycare in town that they go to? It
would be Katie Hunziker's daycare.
And how often do they go there?
Depending on if the high school girl's available, they could go. She is the one who does the morning care for them before weights. So it would be a minimum of $40 a week for them.
Per child?
Total, $20 per kid.
And that's how many mornings a week?
1 to 2, usually Wednesdays and Thursday mornings.
Okay, and then who is the high school girl that cares for them the rest of the time?
Her name is Abby
Abby what?
Molina.
And how much do you pay her?
She requests $4 an hour per kid.
And how many hours does she have them per week?
She has them about, I mean, it varies depending on their schedule. I would say 32 possibly between the other 3 to 4 days a week.
Okay. And that is just for the summer.
That's currently what we're doing. Yes. Yeah.
Well, I assume that at the end of the summer, the high school girl won't be available full
She
time.
will not be available. No.
And what is your plan for the end of the summer then?
So I have the boys' names on waiting list all throughout Plainville. And I'm hoping that a spot will be available. I've been in close contact with one daycare specifically, and I'm hoping that they will have a full-time spot. If unavailable, my family has been more than willing to step in and help watch the kids during business hours, so I am able to still have my job and have a career. But that is always, the last option if they do not have daycare available.
And so if they don't have daycare available and AJ is able to rearrange his schedule, then that would be an option as well, correct?
Well, so he just said the time he doesn't have the kids, he works all these extra hours. So I don't know how that would be an option.
But if he could arrange his schedule to where he
I
was
would be more than willing to co-parent, absolutely, and discuss the arrangement with the kids when that time comes. Yes.
You're willing to discuss it, or that would be a good arrangement for the kids to have a parent caring for them if they didn't have daycare available?
Yes, that would be fine at times.
At times? What does that mean?
I mean, AJ and I have talked when our kids were younger, and we both agreed for the development of the children that it's best that they be around kids their age. They play, they interact, that type of thing. So it's always best that they are around other children so they can develop and grow like they should be.
Okay, but this whole scenario was if you did not have daycare available, then
Yes.
AJ would be an appropriate substitute to care for the children rather than daycare. If you didn't have
or I will take the day off. That's happened before.
okay. You testified about a PFA that you obtained in September of 22.
Yes.
And after the PFA, did you resume your relationship with AJ?
Yes.
Okay, so you lived together, resumed your romantic relationship, and did so until approximately March of 24.
Yes.
So you couldn't have been too concerned about his temper after that PFA if you got back together with him and you resumed your relationship, right?
Well, I mean, to be fair, I was pregnant with twins. I was very hormonal. I was put in a distressed state, and I was not, there was a lot that had gone on where, looking back, and knowing my hormones where they were at, other decisions would have been made if hormones and pregnancy was not played a role in that.
So, ma'am, is that a yes?
So, yes, we obviously continued our relationship past that point.
And hormones could very well have been a factor in you filing that PFA, isn't that right?
Absolutely not. He attempted to punch right next to my head and broke a cabinet. That was very black and white to me. That was not hormonal.
Okay. But then after that occurred, you resumed your relationship. You got back together, right?
It was months later after our boys were born.
Okay, but you did, right?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't understand your testimony about the personal property, ma'am. Do you agree that AJ can get his clothing?
Yes, I think absolutely he has the right to get his clothing and that type of thing.
And do you agree that he can have the clothing that belongs to his older 3 daughters?
Yes.
And do you agree that he can have the mower?
So that's something, we talked about it, or he mentioned, it's hard to determine what was, bought because supposedly everything was together. So, what the understanding was that mower was purchased while we were together. So now the mower is his, but the other belonging that I bought and I provided during the relationship is supposedly ours.
So ma'am, you understand that I'm just talking about who gets to use these items during the process of this case, not who ultimately owns them. You understand that?
Okay.
Okay. So do you agree that AJ can use the mower?
Yes.
Okay. And what about the trimmer?
Yes, that's fine.
And the sprayer?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. And you'd be willing to coordinate a time with your attorney through me that AJ can come and retrieve those items from your home?
With the police present. Yes.
Okay.
Ms. Parker, are you talking about a one-time pickup or returning multiple times to take the mower, use it, and return it?
No, Your Honor, I was referring to him having possession of it on a temporary basis, to where it's my understanding there's a mower for Fallon to use.
Yes, and I offered, okay.
We would like to pick it up and use it during the pendency.
Okay. Any other questions?
You'll give me just a moment, Your Honor. I just have to review my notes.
Okay. I still haven't heard about cost of insurance.
Yeah.
Well,
I can get that for you. So I currently provide insurance for our kids.
Your Honor, if I could just wait on that, there isn't a question pending right now.
Right, there's no question. I'm just reminding both parties that I've not heard about that. Someone will ask you at the appropriate time.
Okay.
Ms. Handley.
Okay.
Okay.
Ms. Hanley, is AJ a good father?
Yes.
Okay. And even though you might not have agreed during your relationship that he provided enough care for the children, He's capable of caring for the children now, correct?
I would not say that, no.
In what way is he incapable?
I explained earlier how he does not, when we were living together, he did not bathe our children. He did not feed our children. He did not transport our children. He sat there for maybe 30 minutes in the evening and held the kids while he scrolled on his cell phone and they watched TV on their lap. To me, does not say that he can provide care for 3 young children 50% of the time.
Ma'am, are you saying that he doesn't feed the children now?
I don't know what he does when I don't have my kids.
Okay,
His mom has been down every weekend.
but you would agree that the children are fed during his parenting time, correct?
I would hope so. I would hope so. Yes.
Do you have any evidence to the contrary?
I don't know what goes on in his household. I've stated that prior.
Okay. And you would agree that they are bathed now when Mr. Garcia has the children, correct?
There has been times where, my daughters came back with having her hair braided Saturday at a sporting event, and she comes back with crinkly hair the following day. Just like the diaper rash we talked about. AJ received them for about 4 hours on a Wednesday. They came back in the same diaper they were dropped off in, poopy soaking through. There was witnesses to that as well. And that's when the diaper rash started. So I have multiple concerns for the safety and well-being of my children.
Okay. So your multiple concerns are what?
Them being bathed, them being changed accurately, making sure that they are, I'm not saying I'm not going to sit here and say that, he won't provide them food, but making sure they have the necessary things that they need on a day-to-day basis because they are not able to provide for themselves, make their own food, that type of thing.
What is it that they need that Mr. Garcia has not provided to them during his parenting time?
Well, bedding, for one thing. I provide a bed, a portable pack and play for them every time he takes them. A pack and play is not suitable for half of the time. It's a portable bed. That's one of the main things that comes to my mind right now.
Okay. But you're providing that so that he can use that during his parenting time, correct?
For the weekends, yes.
Okay. And so it's adequate for the weekend time that you've allowed him to have. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay. And so if there's some other arrangements that need to be made, if he gets more time, that can be done, correct?
I am unaware of his financial status. Other arrangements would need to be made.
Okay. But your testimony is that a pack and play is not adequate for the children for more than a few nights.
Yes.
Okay. What else do the children need that he is not providing to them?
Your Honor, I'm going to object. I think this has been asked and answered and gone over at least 3 or 4 times.
Well, and it's argumentative because you're trying to demonstrate the difference between a weekend versus a longer period of time. So, and it has been asked and answered.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that there weren't any other answers that were going to come out later. So, I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Redirect, Mr. Hoffman.
None, Your Honor.
Additional witnesses from either one of you.
I would have rebuttal, Your Honor.
Okay. Who's your rebuttal?
AJ Garcia.
Okay, Mr. Garcia, you understand you are still under oath?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Park.
AJ, you've been present during the testimony given by Fallon, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And would you agree that with her testimony that you have failed to bathe the children while you've had them on your parenting time?
I disagree.
Okay. Have you provided them with baths and hair washing and those sorts of things?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have they been clean when you return them to her?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And have you heard her testimony that you failed to change their diapers adequately?
Yes.
Okay. And do you agree with that testimony?
No.
Okay. What do you disagree with?
The fact that she said that they came with the same diapers on that they left with, that's, I mean,
Okay.
That's just not true.
Okay.
It's absolutely not true.
Have there been times when they have soiled their diapers in the car, on the drive to drop them off?
Yes.
Do you let the boys sit in wet or dirty diapers?
No.
Okay. And did the diaper rash that the boys both had resolve during the time that you had them?
Yes.
Okay. And what measures did you take to resolve it?
Well, I talked to Fallon and asked her kind of what the regimen she wanted to follow. Of course, I followed that same regimen, but also knowing that the medication that's prescribed doesn't really work. It didn't work on Everly. It doesn't work on the boys. Aquaphor works really well. Lather them in Aquaphor, change their diapers every couple of hours. The only thing that I did different that she didn't suggest was that I soaked them in an oatmeal bath. It worked with my older girls, so I did that as well. And I changed their diaper every 2 hours. I mean, I was in communication with Fallon and made sure that everything went the way it needed to, because it was terrible. It was a terrible diaper rash.
Okay. Have you fed the children while they've been with you for parenting time?
Yes.
Okay. And they've slept?
Yes.
Correct. Have you played with them?
Yeah. Yes.
And have you gotten them to the activities that they needed to go to?
Yes.
Okay. And during the time that you and Fallon were together, did you participate in transportation to and from daycare?
Yes. It wasn't, it was like she said, though, it was on a, if she needed me to be there to do it, I was Johnny on the spot, but she did most of it. Yes.
And did you participate in transportation for Everly to preschool?
Yes. On a same basis.
Okay. And the pack and play that she's providing for your visits,
Yes.
if the two of you determine that's not adequate for a longer term stay, are you able to make other arrangements for the boys?
I will have cribs for the boys to sleep in. Yes.
Okay. And the daycare arrangements that she talked about with the boys, those seems like they're in flux.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
If you're unable to locate full-time daycare for the boys at the end of the summer, what do you think should be done?
I think that, I trust what Fallon has to say as far as some of her family, watching them. I have family. My mom has offered to come this way and also help out in any way. If they're, being a little more independent with my employment, if there's times I have to take care of them for the day, then so be it. I mean, that's part of being a parent.
Okay. So you'd be willing to readjust your schedule in order to accommodate a lack of daycare?
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
You're not suggesting that you would replace their daycare, correct?
No. No, I would just, whatever was going to be the most suitable for the kids and our schedules is the road that I would travel.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross-examination, Mr. Hoffman.
No, Your Honor.
Good. Additional witnesses, Ms. Park.
None.
Any rebuttal, Mr. Hoffman?
No, Your Honor.
Closing, Ms. Park.
Your Honor, as the court is well aware, the court has a responsibility to choose the residential parent who is better able to understand and appreciate the bond that the children have with the other parent. The court has heard testimony from Ms. Handley that makes it clear that she believes her relationship with the children is a priority over the children's relationship with their father. The fact that Mr. Garcia has exercised parenting time on a limited basis since the separation is not due to his own choice. It's due to Ms. Hanley's ex parte orders that she obtained. He was accustomed to spending much more time with the children prior to the separation, and he testified about his bond with the kids and his time that he spent with them on a daily basis. These parties do not live far from each other, Your Honor. They have the ability to arrange for the children to spend more time with Mr. Garcia. He has made it clear that he can be available with his employment for more time with the kids. And frankly, Your Honor, it's in their best interest to spend more time with Mr. Garcia. Not that it's good to spend less time with their mother, but that there should be a more even division of that time. The children have the right to be parented by both parents and experience those parenting styles and care from both parents in both homes. We're asking the court to adopt a shared schedule, but my client has testified that his main goal is that he wants more time, that it's, the 50-50 sharing is his ideal, but his ultimate goal is just to have more time with the children. And every other weekend schedule, even with a 1 weeknight every other week, is just not enough for parents who live close to one another and for parents who were actively involved in parenting their children during their relationship. We'd ask the court to adopt our parenting plan. In terms of child support, Your Honor, I think we have established at least my client's income for purposes of calculating child support. I would still like to see the income information from Ms. Handley that I requested on June 13th from Mr. Hoffman. I haven't seen that yet. But that the court would give my client credit for the other court-ordered child support that he has and include the daycare and health insurance costs once those documents have been received as well. We are asking the court to establish that child support based on an equal parenting time formula with Ms. Handley paying the direct expenses. However, the court has discretion to calculate child support in another manner if you find it appropriate. And I think that the parties are in agreement on the exchange of the personal property, so we would ask that that be ordered as well.
Mr. Hoffman.
Your Honor, it's actually been shown that by my client that Mr. Garcia was a part-time parent while they were living together, and now magically he's going to change, and he's going to be the doddering parent that he should have been when the children were still in the same household. He has shown on numerous occasions that he is incapable of taking care of these children. The children are 4 years of age and 2 1-year-olds. There's been no proof that he ever had any special relationship with any of his other children, but all of a sudden now he has 3 children with which he believes that he can magically have 50-50 sharing time. Your Honor, we have proposed the every other weekend, 1 weekday during the week. If the court need be, we could provide another weekday on the week that he also receives a every other weekend, so he gets a little bit more time, so it breaks it up. But we are not preventing nor barring him from getting to a 50-50 sharing time sometime in the future. But right now, Your Honor, he is living in a house with 2 bedrooms, and he's got all these children. one and the two youngest children don't even have a place to sleep. We would request that at this point in time, again, this is a temporary order, that it be every other weekend and then 1 week during the week. As far as the personal property, we offered to do that a long time ago. And for some reason, they didn't take us up on it. There's no problem with the personal property. And as far as my client's income, it was on the child support worksheet. I can provide proof that she makes about $90,000 per year. What I can't quite figure out here is he says he's working 50 to 60 hours per week, and that if he gets shared custody, he's going to take off that week that he has the children in a shared custody arrangement.
No, Your Honor, that was not.
How is he going to keep any type of job if he does that? And I mean, there's been no testimony by him that he's going to go along with the present daycare schedule. We don't see that. We, again, say every other week. That's all I have.
And Ms. Park was interrupting you, but I was under that same impression from his earlier testimony, Mr. Hoffman, but that was not his later testimony. His earlier testimony was, well, if I have him, I'll take off work. But then he clarified he would continue to work and utilize the daycare.
Yes.
Just not work 50 or 60. I assume he meant he would cut back to a 40-hour week.
That's correct, Your Honor. And that's why I clarified that testimony from him.
So that's how I understood that.
Thank you.
Anything further, Ms. Park?
No, Your Honor.
Anything further, Mr. Hoffman?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. These are temporary orders. As far as the parenting time, he is wanting more. He's wanting to step up and do more, and he should have the opportunity to do that more than currently he's getting about 4 days out of 14, and that's not sufficient. We need to increase the time that he is getting. I think it's pretty drastic to go to week from what has been going on. Traditionally, she has been the primary caregiver, but that's when they were together, and that was the roles they fell into. Now that they're separated, he has the opportunity to step up. We need to come up with a plan that gives him more time. I'm leery to go from these twins who've spent the bulk of their time with being cared for by mom to suddenly spending a whole week away. That just seems drastic. Can the parties work on another plan to do that? Can we do a 2-2-3? Can we do some other modified plan?
Absolutely.
I don't think it would be healthy to suddenly switch week to week. I think the boys are too young for that.
That's fine, Your Honor. And that our proposal was week to week, with mom having, like on dad's week, mom would have an overnight, like middle of the week. So like basically dad's week, mom would have Wednesday overnight, mom's week, dad would have Wednesday overnight. But that being said, we're open to whatever schedule the court thinks is more appropriate. We'd be fine with a 2-2-3 or some other modification of that.
I think right now a modified plan working towards a 2-2-3, given the age of these children,
Sure.
would be more appropriate. I think we should work towards a 2-2-3. And do you understand what we're talking about, Ms. Hanley and Mr. Hoffman?
I understand, but she's not too excited about 3. I think, again, you got twin 1-year-olds?
It's basically the alternating weekends like they're doing now with the 3 days. So then they would continue to alternate weekends, essentially. But then during the week, boys or the kids would be with one parent for 2 days, then the other parent for 2 days.
Are your weekend visitations right now, Friday through Sunday?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Friday at 4 o'clock until Sunday at 6.
Okay. So if we could come up with additional time during the week, that's what needs to happen.
Well, no, the additional Wednesday, what we proposed with every other weekend.
Yeah. It's
I didn't hear any testimony that the boys are still breastfeeding.
They are not.
Okay. I think it best to go with the 223 at this time, but Mr. Garcia, you need to
Sir.
understand there's going to be an adjustment period. And if these children aren't capable of doing a 223, and I don't know that they are, you're going to have to respect that. And you're going to have to work with Miss Hanley in building up to that. They may not be up to doing a 223 schedule yet. I mean, that would be the ultimate goal. But if the
And Your
kids,
Honor,
if you run into problems, you need to be working with Miss Hanley to not have those kids crying through the night
Yes, sir.
and work towards that schedule. Ms. Park.
I was just going to suggest, Your Honor, that, I mean, we would be fine with an adjustment period of a couple of weeks where we, don't do the full 223 and we just kind of add to that. If that's, agreeable to everyone, rather than just starting the 223, we could start, maybe with one overnight during the week for a week or so, or however that looks, to get them into it. I mean, he'll happily take them right away for the 223, but if the court wants to see an adjustment period, we would definitely be willing to do that.
I think the parties are going to have to work together to do that adjustment. Ultimately, the 4-year-old is certainly old enough to do a 223. I don't know that the twins are ready for a 223 schedule.
Okay.
They may have to adjust to that.
Well, we can add that Wednesday and see how it goes to the week that he doesn't have. Or possibly even do a Tuesday, Thursday.
Whatever the parties can work out is fine. We need to work to a 223.
Your Honor, I'm assuming that you'll have me do the journal entry, so I can put something in writing and send it to Mr. Hoffman to see if it would work for them.
Yeah. But eventually we will work up to that.
How about the sleeping arrangements? Are they going to continue as they have?
Well, the testimony is that he's basically living in a 3-bedroom house. I think he's going to have to convert that quote office into a bedroom. He's going to have to get, some permanent beds in there.
And he will, Your Honor. He's willing to get cribs for the boys, and we'll make the sleeping arrangements work.
So work towards that. Okay. As for the child support, Mr. Hoffman, you will produce that information to Ms. Park, but assuming the witnesses have been honest here today, I have no reason to believe they haven't been. You know, she earns, you know, the 90,000 a year. He's earning about 38,000 a year. As I told you in your other hearing, Mr. Garcia, you're the one who chose to go to the working for yourself, and you greatly reduced your income. And the reason you're turning it over quarterly is to see if you're making progress.
Yes.
At some point, if you're not making progress, I assume several of these adverse parties to you are going to claim you have artificially lowered your income.
Yes, sir.
By going to work for yourself.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you've got a lot on your hands now. You've got 7 kids.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and they need to be supported.
Yes, sir.
The worksheet needs to be prepared, giving her credit for the $500 a week she's paying for childcare and for what she's paying for the insurance. And I still haven't got that information, but you two, the attorneys, can share that information on how much is being paid for insurance. She needs to receive credit for the childcare and the insurance. Given Mr. Garcia's situation, I think it best to ensure these kids have insurance, that Ms. Hanley, you continue to arrange for the insurance, and you get credit for the cost of that insurance, and you get credit for the cost of the $500 a week childcare that you're paying, and that you continue to pay that. Okay? And then we'll see what the worksheet shows.
Will do.
Okay. Sounds like you're in agreement on the property. She wants a standby arranged for him to pick up his clothing, the older children's clothing, the mower, trimmer, some tools, arrange a standby with local law enforcement, get that arranged and get that done.
Will do.
Okay. As far as communication,
Your Honor, just on that civil standby, if there's any disagreement, then they leave it.
well, with the civil standby, hopefully there won't be a disagreement. I mean, it's the older girl's clothing, his clothing, the mower, the trimmer, and
And the
some
sprayer.
of his tools. You know, can't imagine them running into a problem. If they run into a problem, this standby law enforcement's going to shut it down.
Right.
And I guess you'll be back here. Okay. But as far as communication on the kids, do you want to leave it open? Do you want to use texting only? Do you want to use a texting service so we have a history of that?
We have no objection to whatever the
think
petitioner wants.
Texting would be appropriate here.
Okay. Communication regarding the children by texting. Obviously, if there's an emergency, make a phone call.
Right.
On the child support worksheet, he does get credit for the child support he's paying, although she was not aware of the other 4-year-old child. That just was a recent development. She was aware of his 3 older children when they got together. And so he gets credit on his child support for what he is paying for the older children. Okay, but she also gets credit for the child care costs and the insurance costs. Put that worksheet together and submit it to the court. If parties can agree, great. If not, send it over and I'll look at your two proposals and let you know.
Your Honor, just so I understand it, does he get credit for the child that's just been discovered?
Well, that's the reality of the situation. I mean, I understand she was not aware of that child, but she was aware he had other children when they got into this relationship, and produced their children. So he is paying, assuming he is paying the support, and you can check the payment center because the payments go through the Kansas Payment Center, and these will also. You can check and make sure he's paying. As long as he's making his payments, he gets credit. If he falls behind, we can revisit that issue and he'll probably not get credit. But that's the reality is, he's got support obligations in place already for 4 other kids.
Okay.
Okay. And in the other cases, he is producing that quarterly income, and the court's interested in seeing that as compared to some previous employment he had. So far, he's much lower than he was, with the idea that he's going to build up to and exceed what he was earning. But he has started his own employment. We'll see how that goes. Self-employment. Any other rulings you need for the temporary orders, Ms. Park?
I think you covered this, but the child support will be through the payment center for this case as well.
Yes. Yeah, the court has to verify. We've got 3 cases going, 7 kids. I need to have verification through the payment center.
I agree. I think we've covered everything.
Okay. I will remind both parents that the court orders for parenting time are your safety net. Whatever you two can work out that's in the best interest of your children is generally in the best interest of your children. If you can't reach agreement, then you fall back to the court orders as the safety net. But if you can modify, look at each other's schedule, look at what's going on in the children's lives and arrange appropriate nights they spend with one parent or the other, and it fits your schedule, do that. Okay? Be flexible, cooperate with one another. The court orders become your safety net. If you can't agree, then you fall back on the court order.
Your Honor, one thing that we didn't bring up during the hearing was the fact that he wanted to know when others were going out of town. Based on his past history, she doesn't want to have to give him notice if she's going out of town with the kids. If she's going out of state, she doesn't mind doing that.
Well, if you're going out of state, you give notice, but if it's your weekend and you're going elsewhere. Now, both of them have an obligation if they're going to have a third person stay over. On the weekend they have the children, or nights they have the children, and they're introducing a third person into the household. Common courtesy directs that they let the other party know, because those persons are exposed to the children and they're around the children 24 hours at a time in that situation.
Are you referring to significant others, Your Honor?
Whether it can be either that kind of a relationship or other friends or family, you know. If they're exposing someone other than immediate family, like grandparents,
Okay.
the children, they, as a courtesy, should let the other know, hey, so-and-so is going to be staying with me for a week. Or
So
several days.
I just want to make sure I'm clear. So my client lives with his grandmother, his mother visits, and his other children visit. So
Right.
it would be outside that circle.
Outside that circle of people.
Okay.
If he has someone else come and stay with them, she has the right to know who else is staying under the roof
Sure.
overnight with the kids. And she has the right to know when that happens, and he has the right to know when that happens.
Okay.
So when they're introducing their children to other adults spending the night, they need to be aware of that.
Sure. What did you decide about the right of first refusal, Your Honor?
If it's out, you know, you've got to, we're in a transition period. This is temporary. The children have also been going to daycare. If he's using it as a, well, if it's her day and she's wanting to use daycare, but I want him instead, that's not going to work.
No.
Okay.
I would exclude their regular provider, their daycare providers.
Okay. But like if something comes up on a weekend, it's, for example, it's his weekend and he's got something comes up where he needs to be out of state or something, a wedding, what have you. Yeah, then the other parent should be notified that that the other parent's not able to exercise the long-term period of visitation. And the other parent should have the first right of refusal.
Okay.
But that comes into hopefully their ability to cooperate with one another, exchange weekends when necessary for those things.
Sure.
Okay. Anything further, Ms. Park?
I don't believe so.
Mr. Hoffman?
I don't think so at this time, Your Honor.
Okay. As far as future hearings, what do you want some time to work on this, or do you want us to start scheduling something?
I would suggest give us some time to work on it and maybe send them to mediation if we are going to need that.
Okay. I'll let the parties schedule. If we need a scheduling conference, let me know. If we run into problems, let me know. If you think mediation would be helpful, we can certainly do that.
Okay.
Good.
Okay. So I'll leave it to the attorneys to schedule a next hearing if we need one.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. And Ms.
I'll
Park will
prepare.
do the orders and
I will.
submit them to Mr. Hoffman for review.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Anything further?
No.
Not from the plaintiff, Your Honor.
Okay. And if you run into problems with the worksheet, you can always send them over. Each of you write a letter and send the worksheets over and I'll look at them.
Okay.
Okay.
Work.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Good luck to all of you. And both parents, please keep the best interest of your kids at heart when you're dealing with one another.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.